I found the voice memo on my old laptop last month, 11 minutes long. I have absolutely no memory of recording it. At first, I assumed it was one of those accidental recordings people make without realizing it. Your phone starts recording in your pocket, or you press the wrong button while half asleep. I almost deleted it without listening. Something made me press play. For the first few seconds, there was nothing except the slow hum of a ceiling fan and someone breathing. Then I heard my own voice, younger, unsteady, whispering into the microphone. I don't remember recording this. I froze, because that wasn't me saying it now. That was me, 3 years ago. Already confused about a recording I apparently didn't remember making. To explain why that terrified me, I need to take you back to my first year. I lived in Hostel C, second floor, room 214. The room beside mine, 215, was empty the entire year. Not because nobody wanted it, not empty because the plumbing was bad, sealed. The door was padlocked. A strip of faded tape stretched across the frame, yellowed with age. It looked less like a room waiting for a new student and more like a room everyone had agreed to forget. Whenever freshers asked why nobody stayed there, the hostel porters would shrug and change the subject. I stopped asking. At least, until a former told me what she'd heard. Hostel stories travel faster than official announcements. Someone hears something from a final year student. She tells her roommate. The roommate tells another block. By the end of the week, the entire hostel knows. The details change. The endings never change. According to the version a former heard, a girl had died in room 215 a few years before we arrived. Nobody ever seemed to know exactly how, only that one morning she hadn't come out. When they finally entered the room, she was lying on the floor. The school never discussed it publicly. The room was sealed. Life moved on, or at least, everyone pretended it had. I remember laughing when Informa finished telling me. Old hostels always had stories. Every campus did. Ghost rooms, haunted bathrooms. A lecturer who supposedly died but still took attendance. I'd heard versions of all of them before. Room 215 became just another story until the dragging started. The first night, I barely noticed it. I was finishing an assignment, headphones around my neck, laptop open. Then, scrape. Slow, heavy, like someone dragging a wardrobe across the concrete floor. It lasted maybe 10 seconds, then stopped. I assumed someone upstairs was rearranging furniture. Old buildings carry sound in strange ways. I forgot about it. Until the next night. Same sound, same length, almost the same time. The third night, I looked at my phone. 2:43 a.m. The fourth night, 2:43 a.m. Then the fifth and the sixth. Always the same. Always from the direction of room 215. At first I joked about it. I even dropped a message in one of our hostel group chats. Which one of you is moving furniture every night? Go and sleep, abeg. Nobody claimed it. Most people simply replied with laughing emojis. A few girls asked what I was talking about. They hadn't heard anything. That surprised me. The scraping sounded loud enough that I assumed the entire corridor could hear it. Apparently, they didn't. A few nights later, I mentioned it to Ifoma, mostly to tease her. So your famous room 215 has started redecorating. She didn't laugh. She looked at me for a moment before saying quietly, "The room is empty." I know. No, I mean empty. There's nothing inside. Before I could answer, it happened again. Scrape. We both turned toward the wall. Neither of us spoke. The sound came again. Slow, heavy, measured. mostly the way I'd been hearing it, exactly the way I'd been hearing it every night. When it finally stopped, Ifoma whispered, "That's coming from next door." I looked at the wall, then back at her. There can't be anything next door. I know. Neither of us slept much after that. The next evening, I decided to record it. Not because I believed the hostel stories, because I wanted proof. If the sound was real, I could take it to hostel management. Maybe it was a broken pipe, maybe a loose ceiling beam, maybe someone actually was getting into the room somehow. Whatever it was, I wanted evidence. So just before past two, so just before 2:30, I propped my phone against the wall we shared with room 215, recording. Microphone facing the bricks. The screen glowed faintly in the dark. 241, nothing. 242, still nothing. Then, 243, the scraping began exactly on time. Slow, heavy, close enough that I could feel the vibration through the wall. I remember holding my breath because I didn't want my own breathing to interfere with the recording. 10 seconds, maybe 11. Then, silence. I stopped the recording immediately, played it back. The fan, my breathing, silence, complete silence. Not faint scraping, not distant scraping, nothing. I checked the timer. The recording covered the exact moment we had both heard it. I listened again, still nothing. I shook Ifoma awake. She sat up, annoyed at first. Then I handed her my phone. She listened, looked at me, listened again. Finally she asked, "Where is it?" "I don't know." "I heard it." "So did I." She handed the phone back without saying anything. For a long time we just sat there, two people, wide awake, holding a recording that insisted nothing had happened, while both of us knew we'd heard something. For the next few weeks, neither of us mentioned the recording, not because we'd forgotten about it, because neither of us knew what to say. Every night, at exactly 2:43 a.m., the scraping returned, slow, heavy, always the same distance away, always from behind the wall we shared with room 215. We stopped joking about it. Instead, whenever we happened to still be awake around that time, we'd glance at each other just before 2:43 a.m. Neither of us ever said, "Do you think it will happen?" We already knew. It always did. One evening, Ifoma asked me something that caught me off guard. "Have you ever actually touched the door?" "The door?" 215. I laughed. "What for?" She shrugged. "I don't know." Neither of us moved. Some questions are easier to ask than answer. A few days later, curiosity got the better of me. It was late afternoon. People were everywhere. Girls moving buckets to the bathrooms. Someone stir-frying noodles over an illegal hot plate in their room. Music leaking from half the doors on the corridor. It felt safe, ordinary. I walked over to room 215. The padlock was still there. The tape across the frame had almost completely faded. I placed one hand on the door. Nothing happened. No strange feeling. No cold air. Just old wood warmed by the afternoon sun. I remember laughing to myself. Maybe we'd allowed hostel story to get into our heads after all. Then I noticed something. The dust on the floor outside the room had been disturbed. No footprints. Not exactly. Just a long streak, as though something heavy had been dragged from the doorway before stopping a few feet away. I stared at it for a while. then convinced myself it was probably someone moving a cupboard months earlier. By evening, I'd almost forgotten about it until 2:43 a.m. The scraping sounded exactly the same, no louder, no closer, no different. That was somehow the most unsettling part. Nothing changed. It simply continued, as though it had been happening long before we arrived and would continue long after we left. I asked around about the room again, carefully this time, not because I believed the stories, because I wanted facts. Most people only knew the version everyone knew. A student died. The room was sealed. Nobody talked about it afterward. Then I met a final year student who had actually been there. She remembered the girl, not well, just enough. When I mentioned room 215, she became quiet for a moment. Then she said something I've never been able to forget. Apparently, a few weeks before she died, the girl had complained about hearing furniture being dragged every night. Not inside 215, in the room next to hers. She reported it. People laughed. They told her the pipes were old, that hostel buildings made strange noises. She stopped bringing it up. A few weeks later, she was found dead in her room. The story ended there. No one ever connected the two things. Maybe there was nothing to connect. Maybe. Life at university has a way of swallowing even the strangest experiences. Assignments, tests, departmental dues, power outages. Eventually, the scraping became another part of hostel life. Not normal, just expected. Then the academic session ended. The following year, we moved to a different hostel. Room 215 disappeared from my daily life. The scraping stopped. Years passed. I graduated. Life became busy. The whole thing slowly faded into one of those strange university stories you occasionally remember. Room 215 disappeared from my daily life. The scraping stopped. Years passed. I graduated. Life became busy. The whole thing slowly faded into one of those strange university stories you occasionally remember when old classmates meet. Until last month, I was cleaning my old laptop, deleting folders, old assignments, half-finished PowerPoint present photos I'd forgotten taking. That's when I found the voice memo, 11 minutes long. The file name was just numbers. The timestamp matched my first year. I have absolutely no memory of pressing record, none. I have absolutely no memory of pressing record, none. At first, I thought maybe I'd accidentally recorded the inside of my purse. Then I pressed play. For the first few seconds, nothing. Just the fan, my breathing, the occasional creak of an old hostel bed. Then, my own voice, soft, almost frightened. I don't remember recording this. When I heard that line, I actually laughed, nervously, because I assumed I was talking about something completely unrelated. Then the recording continued. More breathing, silence, the faint hum of electricity. About 11 seconds later, my breathing changed. Not louder, just tenser, like I'd noticed something. Then I whispered one sentence, a sentence I've replayed more times than I care to admit. It's not next door anymore. Silence. 9 more seconds, the recording ends. I don't remember saying those words. I don't remember making the recording. I don't remember hearing anything that night beyond the scraping we'd already grown used to. I called Ifoma. She remembered the sound. She remembered the silent recording. She remembered the sealed room. She had absolutely no memory of that voice memo or that night. I've spent the last month trying to convince myself there's a reasonable explanation. Maybe I recorded it in my sleep. Maybe stress during exams blurred those memories. Maybe old hostel plumbing really was responsible for the scraping. Maybe. I honestly don't know. What I do know is that somewhere on an old hard drive, there's an 11-minute recording made by a version of me I don't remember being. A version of me who sounded genuinely frightened. A version of me who whispered, "It's not next door anymore," as though that sentence explained everything. To this day, I still don't know what that meant. I only know one thing. I never deleted the recording. I couldn't. Every few months, I convince myself I'm going to listen to it again, just in case. This time, I remember making it. I never do. But then, of course, believe whichever version helps you sleep.